What is going on, peasants? My name is JB, back here today with yet another Pokemon Unite tier list, and it's gonna be obviously post this last patch, last week or whenever it was, and there's some things we need to talk about because, man, this patch was just it's been real interesting to say the least. So we definitely have some stuff to go over, but before we get into that, there are a couple of things I wanted to go over. First and foremost, let's go ahead and talk about our tiers. We got our Hoopa tier, which probably can figure out what's going to go there. We have our stupid tier because these Pokemon are stupidly overpowered and something needs to be done about them. We have our asinine tier. It's asinine that these Pokemon are as good as they are, perhaps. We have our Thanos tier, which is our B tier, perfectly balanced as all things should be. We have our C tier for crazy. You're probably crazy for playing these, but you could do worse, I guess. And then we have our D for don't tier. Typically what we use the D tier for around here is the Pokemon that I deem in the need of the most help in the game. Not necessarily the worst Pokemon in the game, but the Pokemon I'd like to see a change to the most. So that's what we use that for. It's not necessarily the worst Pokemon in the game, because in general, I think, especially over the last couple patches, well, sort of before this one, but in general, they've done a really good job of balancing this game out. So there's not a ton of Pokemon that are unplayable. You can do really well with anything. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start things off. We'll start things off with, let's just do all-arounders. It's a pretty big group of Pokemon, and it's the group I probably play the most of. So, Charizard, we'll throw you in the A tier. Pretty much where it's been for a really long time, and I think it's going to stay there because, yeah, it got nerfed a little bit with the Flamethrower and Fire Blast nerfs, but they're still very usable, and Flare Blitz also is a very good ability. So I think Charizard is still in a pretty good place. It still has one of the best Unite moves in the game, so I don't think the nerfs really affected it too much. I think it's still really solid. It's obviously way better as a jungler than it is as a laner. I think it's one of the largest laners in the game, but it's a very viable, very usable jungler, so it's still in a very solid place if you ask me. Next up, we have our Chompy Boy. Man, it's close to like C tier for me, but I just can't do it. I've seen too many Garchomps do well, and I've myself have done too well on Garchomp to put it below B tier. I think it does struggle with certain matchups, and it does struggle with getting blown up a little bit, but if you're able to snowball on Garchomp, if you're able to get ahead, or if you're able to just play well late game, even if you're not able to get ahead, it can still provide a ton of value, and it's really good against a lot of the bulkier stuff that we're seeing in the meta. Like, yeah, it can get ran over a little bit, but it absolutely shreds a lot of the bulkier stuff. Like, it absolutely will shred a Blissey if the Blissey doesn't get help. It'll absolutely shred stuff like a Slowbro in a tree. Like, it's really good against stuff like that, and it's also really good against squishies like Delphox. So I think it's still in a really solid spot. So I'm gonna leave Charizard in B tier. Maybe that's a little bit biased, but I'm gonna do it. It's my tier list. Fight me. All right, Lucario. Don't need to talk about it. It's broken. It's overpowered. It's the most privileged character to ever exist. Yeah, it's pretty stupid. All right, Machamp, gonna throw it in A tier as well, but for a different reason. It's just not as good as Lucario. It does get kept on experience, which alone just makes it slightly worse than Lucario, but Machamp has a terrifying leg and one of the best Unite moves in the game. We're gonna leave it in A tier, but it's a different kind of A tier than Charizard. So the junglers are typically split into two categories. You have your jungling all-arounders and you have your lane all-arounders. Machamp and Lucario are mostly should pretty much only be lane all-arounders. Charizard should only really be played in the jungle. Garchomp, you can get away with either or on, although I typically prefer it in lane, but it's a usable jungler that are just way better junglers than Garchomp. So yeah, that's how we break down our all-arounders. Now, next up, I'm just trying to make sure we don't miss anyone. All right, yeah, Serena. Serena's still really good. It's borderline S tier for me. I think its Stomp build is just incredible. It just deletes squishies from the game. Like, man, Stomp is something special. It does a lot of damage, has a really fun playstyle, very hard to kill. Triple Hackle's okay even, so yeah, Serena is one of the best solo carries in the game right now. People, well, besides the obvious one that we'll get to a little bit later, I think Serena's one of, if not the best solo queue carries in the game. It just absolutely shreds squishies, it absolutely shreds carries, it has a lot of self-sustain, a lot of mobility, and a really solid Unite move. So yeah, Serena is in a great place right now. I love Serena. Dragonite, I don't want to put them all in A tier, but man, the all-arounders are in a really good spot right now, if you ask me. Dragonite's kind of back a little bit. It dominated a lot of the regional tournaments as the jungler. Just in this crazy flip secure style meta that we're in, Hyper Beam is one of the best secures in the game. It's a great jungler. Again, it's more of a jungler than a laner, where Serena is a laner. And it competes with Charizard in jungle. I think Dragonite is probably a little bit better in lane if you have to play it there, but yeah, Hyper Beam is back. The attack buff was just enough to make it, you know, still very, very good. All right. Next up is Aegislash, and again, I don't want to put all the all-arounders in A, but again, I think Aegislash is just too good to put in B tier. I think it's a step above Garchomp significantly, and most of all the all-arounders, is really good at being either a laner or the jungler. So you can really get away with playing Aegislash top in certain instances. I do think it is a better jungler, all things considered, but I also think it's the best bottom laner of any of these guys. I think bottom lane is, you know, a little bit more focused on range, whereas none of these characters really have great range except for maybe Dragonite, which is why I give it the edge over Charizard. But Aegislash is just phenomenal all around. Well, not all around. I think the Sacred Sword wide guard build is incredible once you learn how to jungle that, and juggle your abilities and get your stacks and just absolutely dash through all the squishies, the little shings, if you will. It is great. I really enjoy it. So yeah, we got ourselves another A tier all-arounder. All right, let's move on to Azumarill, and I think we're gonna put Azumarill in B tier. The buffs to it were nice. It's just its gimmick doesn't really fit what this game is built for. Yeah, you're a great one-on-one assassin. You're basically just the all-arounder equivalent of Gengar, though. You're really good at just deleting one character from a fight. You're really bad in big team fights, though. But if you're able to get in a really solid, really, you know, good gank and just destroy a squishy, then yeah, you can get a ton of value out of Azumarill. It's just against coordinated teams, you're not really going to be able to do that all that often. And for that sort of, you know, broadly play style, everything above Serena is better, including Garchomp, I'd say, or everything above Azumarill is better, including Garchomp, I would even say, at that sort of playstyle. But Azumarill does have its merits. It's good in certain instances, and it's really good against Squishy specifically, so that's what keeps it out of C tier for me. I'm not in love with its playstyle. That's just me being honest with you all. Let's do attackers next. All right, Ninetales. I'm gonna put Ninetales in B tier, and that is because of a very specific Pokemon that got buffed recently that plays a similar role. I think Ninetales is still really good, has a really underrated Unite move. Both of its builds are really solid, and freezes are incredibly annoying. I just think there's another little yellow thing that we'll get to in a little bit that is gonna be taking a lot of the shine away from our friendly neighborhood Ninetales. Okay, next up, Cinderace. It's S tier. Stop. It does get a little bit outshined in competitive play, I'll give you that. In solo queue, it's top tier, no questions asked. Highest auto attack damage in the game, insane mobility. What more do we need to be said? What more needs to be said? I think it's borderline the most broken character in the game, but hey, some people will yell at me for that, and some people will say it's B tier. All right, speaking of B tier, let's go ahead and talk about Cramorant. Is it B tier? I put it in the D tier on my last tier list, and that was a little bit unwarranted because I do think it's better than it has been, but I still don't think it's great. I think this jungle build that we're seeing used a little bit is gimmicky. I'm gonna put it in the C tier. I think, yeah, dive jungle is cool, but I think it's a gimmick. Like why would you use that over any other jungler? It's fun. Cramorant is one of the single most fun characters to play in this entire game, but I just don't see it. It's incredibly squishy. It loses to the to this thing heavily, so it has its moments where it can shine, and it is, like I said, one of the most fun characters in play. And a good Cramorant is as good as any, you know, character in the game. It's just there are better mages in my opinion. Speaking of one of them, I'm gonna put Gardevoir in A tier. I thought it was gonna be a lot better than it ended up being after the change to it evolving to Gardevoir at level 8. I thought it was gonna be just one of the best, if not the best characters in the game, but the buffs to Dragonite, it not having the best secure in the world, and other Pokemon getting buffed ahead of it, keep it, you know, in check a little bit. I think it's still really good, but there are definitely better Pokemon out there, but it's still a very solid A tier Pokemon in my mind. Greninja, easy S tier. Carry potential is crazy. It's just out of this world good. I think it's great, and Surf is dumb. Really good Unite move, and one of the best hyper carries you'll find. All right, let's talk about it. Pikachu. Man, it was such a small change in the grand scheme of things, just the spell vamp that you get at level 9, but man, does it make this Pokemon feel so much better. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put Pikachu S tier. That might be controversial, but wow, does this buff feel really good for Pikachu. I've never had more fun playing this character than I have post this patch, and I've really been enjoying it. So definitely try out Pikachu if you haven't yet. And yeah, it's in a great place. All of its moves are usable. You spam its Unite move a ton. It's just, yeah, Pikachu's in a great place. speaking of being in a great place, we're gonna put Venusaur in S tier as well. It's not as good as it's been in the past, but its kit is unchanged, and it's still, again, one of the best solo queue Pokemon you'll find. Doesn't die or just does a billion damage with Solar Beam. Great objective secure with Solar Beam as well. No complaints about where Venusaur is in the current state of the old video game. All right, Sylveon, I think is a man. I just don't think it's as good as Ninetales. I think it's better than Cram, but I don't think it's about much. I'm gonna put Sylveon in C as one of the worst Unite moves in the game. Draining Kiss is meh. Calm Mind is pretty good. Mystical Fire is honestly pretty bad, but that's might be a hot take. And it has Hyper Voice is great. Hyper Voice is the only thing keeping this thing relevant in my opinion. We've seen some of the split jungle stuff sort of get phased out. Like I said it in a couple tier lists ago, that shit is gimmicky as hell and it wasn't gonna last, and lo and behold, it didn't last. It's still cute, it's still fun, it's still viable if you want to, you know, have fun in playing the game, but in terms of being great, it's just not that. Like Hyper Voice is really good, unless there's Pokemon with mobility abilities on the other team, which there are a ton of. So it's good in situations. So yeah, I think it's fine. It's just nothing special. I think there are a lot better special attackers that we've already gone over, and a couple more that we'll go over here in a second. Decidueye. Speaking about this patch specifically, I think it might be down here, but in general, I think it's probably still a B tier Pokemon. In a normal patch, it's probably closer to A tier. But man, just because of this thing existing, I cannot recommend you play Decidueye right now. It loses on sight to Absol. I'm just gonna say the Pokemon's name. I don't really need it. Like it loses on sight to Absol. It's disgusting. Even if you hit all of your snipes, you would have, I think you have to hit like all 3 of your arrows before Absol can get on you, and Absol will legitimately one-shot the Decidueye no matter what the scenario is. So cannot recommend playing Decidueye now, but if you're lucky enough to play Decidueye and not have an Absol in your game at the moment, then yeah, you can still do all the great things Decidueye can do, secure from range and shred objectives and stuff like that. I've seen way too many people playing Razor Leaf lately, and all I'm gonna say about that is just stop. Razor Leaf is not good. Spirit Shackle is one of the best abilities in the game. Stop playing Razor Leaf. Like it doesn't have secure. It's good for shred. It's really good at doing objectives for the enemy team. So if you want to set up a bunch of Rotoms and Zapdoses and Drednaws for the enemy to take, then yeah, sure, play Razor Leaf. But other than that, I really wouldn't bother with it. But yeah, basically just because of Absol, we're gonna have to move the Decidueye down to tier. We're gonna leave the Groudon in B though. I think it's the definition of a character that's in a fine place. Like it doesn't do anything crazy, it doesn't do anything special, but pumps out good consistent damage, has decent secure, and its Unite move is fine. Flash Cannon is a meme, but it's okay. Stealth Arc and Dragon Tail are both viable. Not a whole lot of bad things to say about his kit, so it stays in the B tier. All right, Espeon. I'm also gonna leave it in B tier. The buffs to it are really nice. I just don't think it's as good as Pikachu or Gardevoir at being that long range mage. I think it's, you know, its stuns are really nice, but again, Pikachu and Gardevoir also do that job better. So it's really good. It's better than it was, but I think it's still just a middle of the pack Pokemon. I think it's very comparable to Ninetales actually. So I think it makes sense that they're in the same tier. And last but not least, for the attackers, we have Delphox. I am going to put it a step above of Espeon simply because of Fire Spin. I still don't think it needs a nerf. I think people are overreacting like crazy if they think Fire Spin is overpowered. I think there are, again, far worse, more egregious stuns and crowd control in the game than Fire Spin. It's very annoying, don't get me wrong, but it is far from overpowered if you ask me. Again, the most overpowered thing about this thing's kit is its Unite move, charge rate, and even that's not bad. I don't think Delphox is overpowered at all. I think it's just a really solid Pokemon that's in a really fine and good place. So yeah, we're gonna leave Delphox in the ol' A tier. Moving on to our defenders next. Let's go ahead and do that. Crustle, I'm gonna put it at the top of C tier. I love Shell Smash as much as the next guy. I'll put it in B. I'll put it in B reluctantly, simply because I do think it's in an okay spot at the moment. It's not amazing, but Shell Smash is fun. It doesn't have the scoring abilities that it used to, which is what made it one of the best solo queue characters in the game, but it's okay. I just can't put a B tier, man. I just can't put a B tier. Rock Tomb is so bad even after the buff. Stealth Rock's good, X Scissors good. It's just there are defenders that do the pushing thing that X Scissor does better, the crowd control aspects of X Scissor better, and there are Pokemon that do the scoring thing better. So the one thing that Crustle has that a lot of the other defenders don't is Stealth Rock, so you can really do some fun things with Fluffy Tail Stealth Rock, you know, stealing objectives and invading to some sense. So it does still have that. I think there are defenders that do everything that you would want out of a Crustle, but better. So I'm gonna leave it in C tier. That feels really, really low, but I think that's the right place to put it. Slowbro, easily A tier, borderline S. I think it's the best defender in the game. You know what? Just because I do think it is the best defender in the game, I'll give it the benefit of that and put it in S tier. I think the buffs to Scald were so huge. They actually made Scald work, so you get all of the ticks of damage from Scald. You didn't previously get those, so that's a really nice buff that they gave to it. So Scald is extremely viable, especially in the current patch because of the stupid dog that we'll get to. Telekinesis is good. Surf is always still good and has one of the best items in the game. It's incredibly hard to kill with Oblivious and Amnesia and Potion. This is the best potion user in the game. I think, yeah, Slowbro, it's an S tier for me. I've convinced myself. Snorlax. Okay, so they changed its cooldowns, which is fine, but it still really struggles with a lot of the range stuff in the game. I do think it's in a better place. I believe I had it in Don't in my last tier list. I might have had it in D tier. Look, they buffed it. It's good. Like, it's better than it was. It's just, it's so matchup dependent and so dependent on what the other team has that I don't really know how much I can recommend playing Snorlax over other defenders. Like, it just struggles so much with range and so much with stuns. Like, you run it into Snorlax with, I guess, a Cinderace, a Pikachu, even a Venusaur to some extent, even a Slowbro. Like, you're just not gonna have a good time. You can't really provide a ton of value to your team as Snorlax if you run into a lot of the stuff that is really good in the game right now, even some of the supports that we haven't got to yet. And even, you know, Pokemon like Gardevoir, even Pokemon like Dragonite really, you know, don't do a lot. You don't do a lot for your team against those type of things. But, you know, against stuff like, you know, Garchomps, the Machamps of the world, it's okay against Lucario. Like, it's good, you know, against these things that like to get into your team. It's really good against melee. It just struggles so horribly with range. It's just, I don't know, man. I can't, like, it's better than it was. It's not that Snorlax is bad. It's that the meta is bad for Snorlax, if that makes sense. So, yeah, we'll do that. That's how we'll word it. Okay. Moving on to Blastoise. I think Blastoise is still A tier. Rapid Spin is still really good. Surf and Hydro Pump is still really good. See, that move isn't as overpowered as it was, but it's still usable. Still just shred stuff with Water Spout, Rapid Spin, so it's not bad at all. It's still really good, but I just don't think it's as good as Slowbro. I think if you're playing Blastoise, you're probably playing it more so as an attacker, as that little bit of extra damage. I think if you're looking for an actual defender, just play Slowbro because Slowbro's Surf is just better than, you know, the Surf Hydro Pump combo. So yeah, if you're looking for an actual defender, just play Slowbro. If you're looking to do damage on a bulkier Pokemon, then there you go, play Blastoise. Blastoise is more like an all-arounder, if you ask me, in that instance. So moving on to our friend Mamoswine. I think it's still B tier. Again, cooldown reduction is cool. It's great. But similarly, the Snorlax, it just really, really struggles with range. It just has the benefit of providing more crowd control with freezes. So that's why I put it above Snorlax. So that's what we have there. Next up, we got our friend Greedence. I'll put you in A tier just because I hate your guts and you're the most annoying thing in existence. And that's what we have there. Yeah, it is very annoying and it is unkillable and I hate it. So it gets A tier basically just because I hate it. Next up, we have maybe the best Absol counter in the game. We got Trevenant. Putting it in A tier as well. It doesn't die. It is one of the most unkillable Pokemon in the game. Provides great crowd control with Hornleech. Curse is incredible. I love Curse Hornleech. What's it called? Woodhammer's okay. I wouldn't really recommend it. It's better for Secures, but yeah, Trevenant is just absolutely phenomenal. It's very hard to KO. Has just crazy survivability, man. It's great. I love Trevenant, so put it in the A tier. Okay, let's do supports. Eldegoss. Nope, Blissey. Blissey is S tier. Do we need to talk about this? It's not better than Lucario, but it's close. We don't really rank them within the tiers if you're wondering, but yeah, Blissey is unbelievable. Yeah, every single move in its kit is great. Every single ability it has is just fantastic. Heals a ton with soft bullet if you need to. Egg Bomb stuns are absurd, and then Helping Hand and Safeguard are still two amazing moves. Safeguard Egg Bomb is probably the best build, although I do just love healing a shitload of damage because it's really fun to just have like 150k healing without really having to do anything. So yeah, it's it's pretty fun. I really like Blissey. I do think it needs to be toned in a little bit, but it is so fun. Like, you know, that pure support playstyle in a lot of other MOBAs or these type of games isn't, you know, typically looked at as fun, but Blissey is so damn fun. Oh, did I mention it has a great unite move, which unironically is really good for stealing if you can just, you know, have a teammate in between you and an objective. Its unite move is great for stealing or just doing a ton of damage. I love Blissey. I love it. Does it need nerfed? Yeah, probably, but doesn't mean I don't love it. Eldegoss, I'm putting it in B tier. It's borderline C for me at the moment, but I do think I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and just put it in B. It does everything Blissey does, but just not as good. Doesn't have as good of a unite move, but has a pretty good unite move. Kills a good amount, just not enough. Provides shields, just not as much as Blissey. Provides movement speed. That's the one thing I might have on Blissey is Leaf Tornado might be better than Helping Hand for movement speed, but Helping Hand also boosts your attack. So yeah, it's just worse Blissey, but it's still a really fun, really good Pokemon. It's just, you know, not as good. All right, Mr. Mime, welcome to the don't tier, my friend. And again, we don't use the don't tier as the worst character in the game. We use the don't tier as a Pokemon in need of the most help, or in the Pokemon I would like to see change the most. And the only thing that I think Mr. Mime needs to rocket up the rankings is switch its plus moves. Give it Helping Hand plus, nope, not Helping Hand plus. Give it Guard Swap plus at level 11 and give it Confusion plus at level 13. Change that and Mr. Mime is just easily like top of B tier, low A tier, easily, if not even better than that. Because nope, I'm gonna do it. I did it again. Guard Swap plus is one of the best healing moves in the entire game. It's just you don't get it to level 13. It's really hard to get level 13 on a support, but it is phenomenal once you're able to get it. So I think it's very close to being really good, and that's why we have it in the don't tier. I should probably rename the don't tier, but it just works too well, and I just like the word don't. All right, Wigglytuff, I'm gonna put in B tier. I think it's fallen off a little bit, but I do think it's really good. I think it's really good against Absol specifically, but that's not what we're here to talk about. I think it does struggle a little bit specifically against Blissey. A good Blissey could just make a Wigglytuff completely irrelevant, especially if it just, you know, sees a Wigglytuff. Oh, cool, that Wigglytuff is on the other team. Well, I'm gonna run Safeguard, and the best thing that Wigglytuff provides, which is, you know, Seeing and Q-Charm, irrelevant. So Blissey just completely wipes Wigglytuff out. But if you're able to get into a game without a Blissey, you still can do a lot of the fun things Wigglytuff did, which is annoy the shit out of everyone and be the most annoying thing in the game. So it's really more so that Blissey is so dominant, not that Wigglytuff is bad, in my opinion. I think it's still really good. It provides more of a defender role than really a support, but it still has a good unite move. Seeing and Q-Charm are still broken in the right instances, and that's really all we have to say about that. Moving on, we got Hoopa, going straight into the Hoopa tier. Obviously, it's great. Yeah, it's just great. It's just game changing, man. The way whole just heals your team to full in an instant, can move you around the map. It still has the best unite move in the game. Like, whether or not your teammates use it, you can't, like, if one team has a Hoopa and the other team doesn't, the team with the Hoopa should just win the game. But that doesn't always happen in solo queue for some reason. But yeah, dude, Hoopa is just, it's just on another level. It just is. Like, is it gonna do as much damage as anything below it? Is it going to carry a game as hard? No, of course not. But it is simply too game changing to, you know, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is truly game changing. All right, let's go ahead and talk about Talonflame. I'm gonna put it in B tier. It's borderline A for me, but B tier is where we're gonna put it for now. I think it's still really solid, does a lot of burst damage, and it's very easy to play. Gets his unite move all the time, but it does kind of blow up, and it doesn't really provide as much value as certain other speedsters, and it's just not quite as good. And it really struggles against stuns, which there are a ton of in the game right now. So put it in B tier. Still can carry, still a crazy good Pokemon, just not as good as it should be or it used to be. Gengar, I'm gonna reluctantly put it in A tier. If you've tuned into my streams, I have a very strong dislike for Gengar. I don't know what it is. It's just disproportionately, Every single time there's a Gengar on my team, they're terrible. Every single time there's a Gengar on the other team, it hard carries, and I get very mad. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it, but it's just, I'm sure everyone has that Pokemon where that happens to them. And for me, it's Gengar. Just a disproportionate amount of Gengars on my team suck versus the amount of times I just get slaughtered by a really good Gengar. I think Gengar is not great. I honestly don't think it's that good of a Pokemon. It's just, if you're able to get ahead and snowball on Gengar, there are a few Pokemon that carry harder. So I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. It's a low A tier. It's obviously, it's no lower than B. Even if putting my biases aside, I do think it's, you know, probably a very high B tier Pokemon. So I'm going to put it at the bottom of A. It's because I hate it so much. I know that doesn't really make sense, but that's what I'm going to do. Zeraora. I've long said that Zeraora is better than people think, but I'm going to put it in the don't tier for this patch. Basically because everything else has gotten, like, I'm pretty sure everything else in the game has gotten changed at some point in the last couple months except for Zeraora. That's not true, obviously, but it's been a thing that people have been complaining about for long enough that they finally do need to address the level up moves of Zeraora. And I've said this so many times in so many tier lists. The only thing you need to do to make Zeraora perfectly balanced is lower its level up moves to the rest of the game. Give it the 5, 7, 9, you know, level up cap, and then change Wild Charge from damage immunity to damage reduction, because I don't care what anyone says. Yeah, Zeraora is not in the best place right now. Wild Charge is one of the most broken attacks in the game, point blank, period. It is absolutely disgusting what that move can do. So I am going to stand by the fact that I think Wild Charge is extremely overpowered, but Zeraora as a Pokemon, it does really, really need to have its level of move change at this point to remain viable. I'm going to go ahead and go on record and say that at this point. And then last and certainly not least, do we even need to talk about Hoopa? Or fuck. Do we even need to talk about Absol? It's going in the Hoopa tier. It's going above Hoopa in the Hoopa tier. That's how good Absol is. Listen, dude. Do I think it is the most broken character in the game right now? Debatable. I think it's insane. Do I think it's better, you know, all around than Lucario or Blissey or Cinderace? Probably not. But what it can do is just disgusting. It can absolutely delete pretty much every character in the game. I don't even know, like, it feels like an overbuff because of how good it is, but how do you nerf that back without just taking away the buff that you gave to Psycho Cut? Because it's such a game-changing, you know, change to the way the Pokemon works, but how do you nerf it without just getting rid of that? Do you lower the crit damage? Maybe that's what you do, but I don't know, man. It's just ridiculous. I love it. It's always been one of my favorite Pokemon to play, and I do think it is overpowered, and they do need to do something about it. But yeah, it is. It's very, very, very centralizing and very oppressive at the moment. So I will go ahead and give it the benefit of the doubt and say it is the best Pokemon in the game right now. Whether or not I actually believe that, who's to say? But I do agree that they do need to do something about this character sooner rather than later. And yeah, that's what we're gonna go ahead and do with our tier list this time. Let me know what you think. Please do all the YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, do all that sort of nonsense. I'd really appreciate it. And please roast me for having your favorite character too low. I would love to hear your thoughts, comments, and opinions on that. Truly. I'm not joking at all. I promise. No, but thank you guys for watching. Catch you all in the next one. Have a good one. Bye-bye.